Hello my friends, today we are going to continue develop our strategy. So we are using linear regression strategy, and we need to do some improvement to make some results more stability. Each one strategy has some instability because market is changed, state of market is changed, and we need to adapt the strategy, but we could create some more clever feature for machine learning ideas or like indicators to make more clever strategy. But this process is very hard. and need sometimes to find some idea. We need to generate idea. We need to come up outside of the box. Yeah. So and we need to do something. Okay. When we develop the first version, we create from the one step when we create some basic ideas. Next, we need to scale these ideas to understand it's working or not. What I did, so I downloaded data for the last 6 months for 5 minutes. You see this one, and I store this data into data set using Pandas, and you see this one. We could use method to CSV to store this data set in format CSV. Next, it takes some time. It's about more than 10 minutes. So you just could download, upload this data from file. Okay, next I add new tickers. In general, we could add more tickers. It will be working for us. Also, we could add data from another market, like gold, for example, S&P 500, for example, or Dow Jones, or some liquidity stock like Facebook or Apple. It also could improve our results, but it's another ideas. But we should concentrate only on this one. So what I did. What is okay, this is our backtest strategies method, what we used in our loop to generate some signal. And in general, in the future, I'm going to make this code more clever and cleanable to read, to separate logic on different class, like constructor, when we could use this constructor to create some ideas and generate signal more quickly. Okay, but now, and you see we used cross-validation using times series split. It means we test our strategy 30 times. It's enough time to decide it's working or not for the last 4 years or 4 months with multiply of tickers, and you need to understand how it's working. And you could also change some target tickers to apply the strategy for another tickers like Ethereum or Bitcoin or Cardano or like something this. Okay, so I used best degree 1 because it would be more faster to loop these ideas and find some relationship. But if you increase these parameters, run processing would be more longer. Okay, next, yeah, you see we generate some results. This is our score, MSI, and our free strategy. And let's check in what happens. And you see this is 30 parts of our time series, and in general it's working when we test our strategy. And you see it's working. Next, we take our train data and again train data set. Next, we test this data, and it's like a run of our strategy on production. Next, also we apply train our models on previous data and test this one. Sometimes we have unprofitable period, and it's okay because we haven't any strategy what would be working in 100% times. Okay, let's look on the statistical in general. I generate cumulative returns for the last period to accumulate these returns to find it's working or not in general, yeah, because we have 30 times period. Okay, it looks like this one. You see, it looks like stability period to generate some profit from November to May. Okay, but in general, we have multiply of challenge, like commission, for example, and another. But we're going to solve this problem step by step. Sometimes we need to improve our time series. I mean, do some example for 5 minutes to 6 hours to get more volatility, to make more profit, and we could cover commission. Okay, next, to create these ideas, we're using linear regression, and it means we need to find some linear dependency. We need some ideas. We need some useful feature. It would be it could be improve our data. For this reason, I created new folders. It would be folders. Let's look in where is maybe this one. Okay, it would be research, and we're going to make research. I use this file, relationship regression. Let's look in. So this is a multiplier file, and I'm going to organize this file and to create some folders. And for example, you see we import OS to replace our main directory, and because we need to import some files from this directory. Okay, let's do it. And our goal is to use Pandas. Okay, because Pandas are very powerful tools for data science or for quantitative trader. Using only Pandas, we could create a very nice strategy and find some relationship. And I'm going to create more video about Pandas, because we're going to use more data, and we need to analyze this data. Okay, because you see, for example, data set, and we have is about 1 million rows, and we need to organize and to work with these rows. And this video I'm going to show you how to use Pandas. I'm going to show you some tricks how to analyze this data. And you see, for example, this is some Bitcoin USDT data with some time series, but we have another like Cardano, XRP, for example, and we need to use this format of data as like a big table to find some relationship and to understand this data. Okay, the first one what we need to do is let's create our index. Let's delete it because I did it. Okay, so we do some copy of this data frame, and I'm going to use a group by, because we need to group by this data set by symbol, and to organize this data set correct. And you see, for example, Cardano, and I print only 2 last rows. You see, like this one is correct time series. Next, what we need to do is create some feature, generate feature. Yeah, so we're going to use the loop. I'm going to generate feature using time lag and create some target variables. Be target, and I'm going to use also group by. Take the symbol by symbol and take columns close and shift this value in the future, because we're going to predict this one. Or I'm going to maybe next video to analyze some cases, what happens on the market, to analyze how it influence on the market and what happens. And we could use the statistical to add the signal into our linear regression model, and this way we could improve our results, because it's very important idea. Who haven't experience with machine learning, it means we should input only clear data, a clear logic into machine learning, because if you input garbage, you output garbage, and your strategy wouldn't be working. or you could find you could develop some models with overfitting. It would be working on trained data, but it couldn't be working on test data. But in this one, I show you that it's working on test data, and we need to improve these results step by step. So we are going to generate this data. So we generate using the log, but we have another also way to generate generate a feature like a rolling window or expand rolling. Also we're going to use calendar statistics. It's very important statistic. I show you why it's working. For example, I'm going to use a grid search. Using grid search, maybe it would be very difficult to understand, but it's really working. And I know some hedge fund use some instrument. Okay, for example, let's look on the results for 5 minutes, and we're going to predict next bars with sequences 1. It means sequences with 1 bar. Okay, I test the strategy many times, and we could generate some alpha from this one. Okay, it takes some time because we don't load data from server for the first time. Okay, let's wait. Maybe it takes some time, so I'm going to maybe show you some results. Okay, when we create this feature using group by symbol, you could run it on yourself to understand how it's working. Next I print our columns, and also I sort value by time. We need to do it because sometimes we get incorrectly data set from the server of Binance. Okay. Next, I print this some columns to understand that we're working correctly. Next, we're going to use some tricks like pivot table to reorganization of data set. And we'll say this our index indicate some, for example, index would be time and columns would be single because we're going to group this data, and we're going to use close value because I'm going to display this data to understand dynamics, historical dynamics, because I need to understand the data correlated or not correlated, what would be hedge, and what data we could delete from dataset, because very correlated cryptocurrency we should delete from linear regression, for example. It's also very important. It could be make our model more light and more quickly, and it would be correctly way. Okay, you see, for example, USDT. There's some abnormal situation. Also, abnormal situation will be suggested data would be it's not correlated, and you could use this ideas from this one. Okay, because using these display charts we could find some relationship, and we could create some hypothesis and test this hypothesis. Okay, next let's check. Okay, I need to explain you why it's working. For example, looking, I need to find some data. I know if we haven't any sequences when we have time 0 by GMT time, Greenwich time, our strategy could generate our very good profit. Let's look at this one. Signal sequences would be 0, and also hours would be 0, and we should short our signal because this dependency generated about 11% for the last 30 or 19 days. I don't remember. Okay, let's do this back test. And what happens when we generate this, when we are going to trade this situation? Yeah. Okay, this is data for the last 30 days. You see, this is total returns, and you see we generate 12%. Very nice. And max drawdown, it's very small drawdown. Okay, and what is benchmark returns? Only 1%. So we find very nice relationship using this table. Okay, sometimes we have very good win rate is about 60 or 70%, but in this case we generate profit because we have a very high Sharpe ratio, and average return for winning period is more than losing. Let's look on the results. Okay, you see it's working. It means if we trade Bitcoin USDT on 0 time, it means when day is starting, and if on 5-minute bars we have sequences is 0, it means next bar would be grow and we could use dependency. It's the same working, for example, for 1 hour. So let's look in what happens, what would be the results. Okay. Also, let's find very big relationship. What is okay? For example, on this one, 19 hours for sequences 0, 19 hours. Okay, and we need to select this one and 19, and also we should to short this position. Okay, let's do backtesting to understand this data, and you see it's working also. So and this is why a reason I did it for myself to make some research, but it would be very useful to understand why we should use this relationship to add this signal into our data set. If we will do it, we could improve this one. Okay, next what we need to do, we need to create some scatter plot. Okay, using scatter plot we'll also using group by symbol, and we're going to take out close and target variable, and we need to indicate that we need to plot scatter between close and target to understand do we have linear dependency using this between two variable or not. If you do it, you see we have linear dependency. It means we should to include this data into our data set. It means if you take close data and previous close data in our data set, and it could be our linear regression model could find some relationship, additional relationship, and we could improve our results in machine learning. Okay, sometimes you see we have some outliers. It means sometimes market suddenly up or down, it happens, and to improve results we should delete this all outliers, because we have some tendency to predict these outliers is another way in machine learning. Okay, so in general it's working. Sometimes we have outliers, and it means I should delete these outliers to improve results of machine learning, to improve accuracy. So let's look in, for example, for target 10, because I created 10 feature, and I'm going to use how it influence 10. What is dependency? I suggest we're going to why it's not working? Maybe I haven't error. Yeah, maybe I haven't this data. Let's look at target 9. Okay, I haven't. Let's do again run this data. Target. Next. Okay, I created this target. Let's look in again. Okay, it's working. For example, I'm going I suggest we have more noises, and you see we have more noises, but in general, and we have more outliers, especially for this coin. It also very useful information for us to understand data. When we understand some data, we could create hypotheses and to create some trading strategy. And when you understand data, you better understand trading, and you could improve your trading experience and avoid some mistake of trading. Okay, it's very interesting for this data. I'm going to analyze what is outliers, why it happens in this period, because in the previous, when we have only target one, we have less outliers, but in this part of range of this price, it's multiply outliers. It's very interesting. Okay, but in general, the linear dependency is saved. But if you use, for example, 500 lux, this linear dependency would be I forgot this word, disappear. It means we haven't this dependency. Because trend of the market is changed, or state of the market also changed. Okay. So, but for 10 target, it's working, it's okay, and I'm going to use this information. Okay. Another chart, so what we need to use is this histogram. You know, in trading we have multiple way to draw some price level, support level, resistance level, but what is the way is correct from data science? From data science, correctly way would be if you find the price level when price is very often happens in these times. For example, for this coin, Ethereum, maybe price is very often happens on $6,000. No, it means another. This price is this one. This frequency is how many times this level it happens. It means, let's look in on the Bitcoin. It would be more readable to understand. Okay, let's look in. Where is? Okay, let's look in. Maybe it's Ethereum because this is price, and you see, for example, price is 3,000. As price is very often happens 4,000, and also it means some large players make decision when we have some round price, because it's psychology, and we could use this information to add this price level into our data set. When it happens, we could add this signal like 1, for example. If it not happens, like 0, it's also would be very useful information for us using histogram to create price level correctly. Because when we're using some trading books, we have several ways how to create price level, but we don't know it's working or not, and many authors didn't backtest. Yeah, but when we use this way, we could do backtest to understand it's working or not. Okay, another what we need to do, create some correlation metrics to understand our data or to analyze our portfolio. And for machine learning, we should delete correlated data. For example, if we're going to use Bitcoin USDT, we're going to, for example, delete data like Bitcoin Cash, for example, because it's very correlated, and we couldn't find any additional linear dependency, or dot we could delete. Also, very interesting information about it's not correlated data like Luna USDT, Matic or Atom USDT. Okay, it's very interesting information because this data is not correlated, but Luna is negative correlated. It's very interesting information. We could use these results to create some trading ideas. I show you. Also, you need to make practice with pandas. It's very important. So I'm trying to explain it. So we have a very big data set. It's about 1 million rows. We need group by symbol. When we group by our tickers, next we need to select close data. Next, I'm going to resample this data from 5 minutes to 1 week, for example. Also, we could change like 1 hour, 50 minutes, 30 minutes. It's depends of your goal. Next, we need to take last data. What data happens on the last 1 week end, for example. Next, we need to unstack this data because we have a different shape of this Pandas data frame, and we do some reshape of this data and calculate correlation. Next, we apply this style and background gradient to create this display of this data set more beautiful. Okay, so let's look in on this information. I'm going to check, for example, I'm going to use the Bitcoin USDT and to understand how it's working with Atom USDT, because we have some uncorrelated data, and what we need to do is do some group by symbol, do resample 5 minutes, take last Bitcoin USDT, it take sub index of this time series. I'm going to show you. Okay, and you see this is very interesting information for us to understand how we could use information. I'll see that for example, we could add this data into machine learning. Also, we could create some new strategy like pair trading. It means when one of these cryptocurrencies is growing, we could sell this cryptocurrency and buy another cryptocurrency. And when is this data is cross, we could close our position. This is one of this type of strategy, close like pair trading, and we could use this one. Okay, so guys, let's look in on the pandas. I would like to explain you because we're going to use more pandas and we need to analyze more data. Let's look in again, more practice. And you see we have data, we have multiply of pandas data frame. Let's look in, for example, describe to analyze what is this data. Takes some time. Okay, and you see this all data. Let's look in on the length of our data. Okay, this is number of rows, and let's look in on the columns of our data. Okay, so to represent this data in correct format, let's do it. Let's look in the, for example, the first one row, and you see where is symbol. We need to group by this data. Okay, so let's do it. Group by, and you need to take symbol, and let's take, for example, close. Some suggestion from Capilots, very nice tools. Let's do some resample of this dataset. Resample, and I'm going to use 5 minutes. Okay, it's resample. Okay, and also we need to take last data of this resample, because when we do resample, we need to do some action. Okay, we'll take last data, and also we could, for example, mean data or maximum data. Okay, so, and you see, let's look in on the last. This is some type of format. You see, this is indexes. Let's look on the type of this format. What is this type? It would be Pandas time series. You see, series data. And we need to do some representation of this data set. The easiest way it would be some transport. In general, these tricks when you use neural network, when you transport some data to multiply matrix. And you see we have, for example, simple Cardano USDT or XRP USDT, and to create subset of this big data frame, we need to use log and indicate, for example, Bitcoin USDT, Atom USDT, and we create some subset of this data set. And we see Bitcoin USDT and Atom USDT. And for example, if you calculate unicum of failure, unique, maybe like this one. Okay, let's look in. We get only no, it's not. Okay, we need to represent these columns. We do it, but the first we need unstack this data by symbol to represent this one. Let's look in what happens. And you see Bitcoin USDT, and we have only two columns, Bitcoin USDT and Atom USDT. Even we have these correct columns, we could, for example, calculate correlation of this data set. You see, or for example, we could plot this data. And it's very useful to understand how to work with this data set. And next time we are going to improve our machine learning linear regression, and also we're going to create more we are going to create more feature for linear regression model, and to analyze cases, what happens on the market. For example, we create some cases, what identify and what happens after 1 lakhs, after 2 lakhs, and we could find some relationship on this way. I'm going to show you how to do it in next time. So guys, thanks for watching my video, and see you next time. Bye.